Jimmy and I are going to tell you why Alabama is going to be better than most people think.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson with the AHSA Radio Network. You know, that's me. And, of course, Jimmy with Bama Online. You know, of course, that's him. And that's just how we roll over here at Locked On Bama. We appreciate you making us your first listen every single day. We love all you everydayers. We love all you newbies. We love everybody that's associated with all of the Locked On networks. And we're just happy that football season's here, and we can't wait to get it started. This particular episode is brought to you by Ultimate GM. I'll be telling you about Ultimate GM here in just a little bit. We also have a new sponsor in 5 Hour Energy, and boy, could I tell you some good things about 5 Hour Energy. Jimmy, you know, I led off saying we're going to tell everybody why Bama's better than we think. But, you know, let's start with a little depth chart stuff. I mean, Bama Online came out with their proposed depth charts, or not even their predicted depth charts. Mm-hmm. And a couple of things that I loved about it was that they have Justice Haynes as the number one running back. Now, part of that is because Jam Miller is banged up a little bit. I don't think Justice Haynes is going to give that role up.
Yeah, once Justice gets out there, it's going to be hard to take off the field, to be honest. I mean, I think he's fantastic. Also, I think Jam's good. And really, if Jam had not been hurt, I think it would have been more interesting to see what Charlie Potter, who wrote those depth charts, what Charlie went with if Jam had never been hurt. Because it seemed to us at practice, those two would literally rotate almost day to day. Like it'd be Justice's turn to be the number one back, and the next day it's Jam, and then it's Justice again, and then it's Jam. They were literally splitting those first team reps virtually 50-50. Richard Young would get some time too, but not anything like Jam and Justice. But now Jam's been banged up. Justice is no doubt taking advantage of those reps. He's the one that should start, in my opinion, because Jam's missed so much time and Justice has been number one. But look, does it really matter who starts? To me, what matters is who gets the most touches, who gets the most snaps, who's a bigger part of things. My guess is, Luke, I think this could change week to week in terms of who gets the most run out there. I think it's going to be a 50-50 type deal. But if it's not 50-50, my money would be on Justice. I think he's just a super talented kid. The coaches love him. Pretty good in all areas. Now, one word of warning. I saw a play in the Florida State-Georgia Tech game that gave me pause. It's third down, Tech's blitzing. They get a free blitzer. He's going to hit DJU. And Roy Dell made a fantastic kick-out block to give DJU more time. And I immediately thought man, those Alabama fans who wanted to bench Roy Dell and Jace and go with these young backs, they don't understand how big that play was. And by the way, DJU made the play and the drive kept alive, because of Roy Dell's block. Jam and Justice have to prove they can make that block, because last year, an opportunity, they did not. And one time, Justice missed a block so bad, Milroe got really whacked. And that's just unacceptable. I mean, so they got to get better at that part of it. We know they're good with the ball in their hands, but it takes more than that. And that's why those veteran backs, one's in the NFL, the other one's, a starter at another elite program. They've got to, Justice and Jam have to come along in that area.
Oh, I'm with you on that 100%. And boy, I remember that play yesterday, and at the time I even remember thinking that what a play by Roy Dell, but I guess I just didn't carry it over to discuss it with anybody. But those things do go unnoticed, and they are huge. And I would say I'd be willing to bet Jam Miller is probably better at picking those things up than just for experience-wise. But yeah, and he's really, here's the scary part. I don't think he's really going to be tested in terms of blitzing linebackers and where to pick up until you get to Georgia. Now, maybe South Florida, because last year, if you remember, South Florida teed off on us pretty good. I don't remember exactly how many sacks they had, but it was a bunch.
That could be a challenging game. I don't think enough media guys talk about the possibility of South Florida being that group of 5 team. I've seen one person predict it, but maybe there should be more. South Florida quarterback's back. I think that coach might be a thing. As we know, he was the OC at Tennessee, when they passed us silly in 2022. It was this dude calling the shots. He's got an experienced quarterback. South Florida is obviously they're in a situation where they should recruit fairly well, just enough proximity to players. But yeah, that'll be a challenge. But hey, let's get week 1 behind us, and then we'll start fretting about the Bulls.
Yeah, but again, we started off with the whole depth chart. We're not going to go over the whole thing. We're going to go over the interesting parts. There's no reason to debate. Well, should it be Jalen Milroe? It's going to be Jalen Milroe. Or, should it be Parker Brailsford? Yeah, it should be. Receiver-wise, I did talk about this the other day on the solo show that, I know Jeremy Bernard, and this is BOL's predictions, Jeremy Bernard, Kobe Prentice, and Kendrick Law. And I said, I don't know who in the world he's going to replace, but Ryan Williams is going to replace somebody in the starting lineup now. And that's it shouldn't be considered an insult to whomever that is, but I believe it in my soul.
Yep. And again, even at that position, I don't focus so much on starts. What I focus on at wide receiver is targets. At the end of the game, who among the wide receiver group did they throw it at the most? I'm up there with you, Luke. I won't be surprised if Ryan is second in targets on this team over the course of several games, over the course of the season. I think by the end of the year, it's Jeremy leading the team in targets, and it's Ryan right behind him in the second spot. Third, probably Kobe, because he's going to be that first slot guy, and then Cole Adams, will be a second slot guy. But I think Ryan Williams will be second in targets, and that's not a shot at Kendrick Law, who I think is a good player. And Kendrick, critical year for him. Not about keeping Ryan off the field, but just about K-Law to me as a junior, and it's time to turn potential into production. We know what the potential is, but you got to turn the potential into production. Or if he doesn't, if it's not a productive year for him again, Luke, I'll be the first on here in the spring going, should we look at Kendrick at another spot? I mean, that's how big. Now, I don't think that conversation
location, not position. Yeah,
no, I'm talking about position. Yeah, okay. I'm talking about position. But what I mean is, should Kendrick? He needs to be productive because he's too big, strong, and fast not to be. And if he's only got another 17 catches for 200 yards, that's just not enough based on size and speed. I'll be going like, should he be playing safety? Should he be playing running back? But now that being said, I don't think that conversation is going to happen. I think he is going to have a productive season. I think it'll be Jeremy and then Ryan and then Kobe and then K-Law, maybe Cole fourth or fifth.
If it goes like you said, then it would be probably par for the course if we finish with 17 for 200. Now, unless we throw the ball more than everybody's letting on.
And I think they will. I mean, again, I'm going Jalen from 23 passes a game to 34. That should be roughly 7 more completions per game than last year. And I think a lot of that will be to wide receivers, but they are going to throw it to the backs. They are going to throw it to the tight end too. But yeah, I think there'll be just more production in general across that wide receiver room. Last year, the production was really Jermaine Burton and Isaiah Bond. They basically soaked up all the oxygen in that room. And I think third in the wide receiver room last year was Kobe. And he had quite a few catches, I think around 38. But then beyond Kobe, it got pretty skinny in terms of the production. You have Malik Benson, Ja'Cory Brooks caught a few balls last year. We forget about him.
Yeah, well, we forget about him because he's not here.
He ain't here anymore.
He's at Louisville.
It'll be interesting to see how he does at Louisville. Louisville, on that note, Louisville was excited to get the South Alabama transfer, Colin Lacey, who was such a good player. South got hurt. He's out for the season.
I know that sucks.
So Ja'Cory's going to catch more balls as a result, I would imagine.
So you say Louisville. I say Louisville. You say Colorado or Colorado?
Colorado.
I say Colorado. I think it's just maybe my accent's a little bit heavier. And, like all Southern people, we just sort of get lazy at the end of a word. We're like, going to Colorado. Like it took a lot out of me.
The one that gets me, and I think Lou Holtz does that. Instead of saying Oregon, Lou Holtz says Oregon.
Or that one.
That would bother me. That bothers me.
Yeah.
Oregon.
Also, I don't understand why people say roof. Now, I get it in the roof, yes. Anyway, we'll have another podcast on this, on Locked On.
I had a construction guy doing work in my house that kept putting an R in the word toilet.
Where?
He was saying Turlet.
Oh, Turlet. Yeah. Turlet.
That's just terrible.
That's another thing that, like, us small city Southerners like to do. We put R's in a lot of places.
Putting R's in words that don't have R's.
We just got R's. We got a boatload of R's somewhere. Or a boatload of R's. Okay. All right. I got to tell you about Ultimate GM. Yep, Ultimate GM. This is a lot of fun. Hey, Locked On Bama fans, I want to take a moment and give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love, and that's Ultimate College Football HC. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach like Kalen DeBoer or a Jalen DeBoer if you're Steve Spurrier, and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of Bama or South Alabama or North Alabama? It'd be a lot of fun. From recruiting players and hiring coaches, staff, to overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships, you control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? I'm going to guess no, but prove me wrong, people. Ultimate College Football HC is a completely free, has no ads, and 100% playable offline. That makes it kind of fun. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. Look, of course, we have a special offer for you on Locked On Bama. Use the promo code Locked On CFB, all caps Locked On CFB, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure you take advantage of this perk as it will get your team off to a strong start. To download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com, ultimate-cfb.com, or look it up on any of the app stores. Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. And I also want to remind everybody those college football previews are still out there. Go check them out. College football is live. College football is back, I should say. And college football, Locked On College Football podcast kicks off the action with a live season preview. That was done on Tuesday, so it's not live anymore. It was last Tuesday, but Jimmy was on it. And if you hadn't seen it, go check it out. Of course, it's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As I put some more R's into that.
More R's. There's R's in there.
Okay. Is Western Kentucky a good test for us?
Yeah.
I'm going to say, to steal a line from The Simpsons, I'm going to say yes with a but and no with an if. Yeah, my yes with a but is I think it's a good test because I'm glad we're not playing in Ireland. I'm glad we're not playing Wisconsin game one. I'm glad we're playing somebody that is not god-awful at the same time that we should beat pretty handily for Kalen DeBoer's debut. That's what I'm happy about. I'm happy it's not on the road. I'm happy it's not in Atlanta or in Dallas or in Dublin. I'm just glad it's at home in Tuscaloosa. He gets to feel a little bit about this because I do feel like there will be an energy in this stadium.
Yeah, and what I like most, I agree everything you said. I'm so glad this first game wasn't in Dublin and some crazy thing. I'm glad it's not a neutral site game against a really good team. I like that, but I also like that it's not the FCS opponent. You know, if you played Mercer in week one, like the Big Ten bitches about, they want all the SEC teams in Alabama to play your FCS game early because they think it's somehow unfair to play it late. I don't understand that at all. But I'm glad we're not playing an FCS team week one. I want a test, but not a significant, if it goes sideways, you'll probably lose type test. I'd rather see a decent test against a team you're highly likely to beat. So I love this first opponent. And Luke, if you think about it, what's really neat about this early schedule is each test gets sterner until you get to Georgia, right? South Florida's better than Western Kentucky. Remember what happened last year? Then going to Wisconsin's tougher than South Florida at home, to say the least. And then that fourth game against Georgia is an even bigger test. So I like how there's a ramp up. And then at the end of those 4 games, you should really know what you have to work on. And I know it'll be sad or depressing, or we'll all be upset and biting through rubber dog bones if we lose to Georgia. But at the same time, what I would be talking about, let's hypothetically say it is a loss. So I'm going to talk about is we know exactly what we got to work on. I mean, whatever Georgia exposed, We've got 8 games to get better so we can see Georgia again, either in Atlanta or in the playoffs. So that's what I will be focused on is, man, you almost want to thank them for, okay, now we know we got to work on A, B, and C. And that's the pathway to getting better. You know, if you win that game and you get exposed a little bit because you had to pull it out of the fire because it's Georgia, but you win the game, I'm not sure you work on those weaknesses with the same urgency, right? I mean, Nick Saban talked about that a lot, that sometimes it took a loss to get the players' full attention and to get it refocused. And again, that makes it sound like I'm going, boy, I hope that Georgia game goes the other way. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is Georgia will produce an opportunity to know exactly where you sit. And that's valuable, win or lose.
Yeah, and I mean, this is all kind of a far cry from starting off with is Western Kentucky a good or bad test. But I mean, we're sort of gone off on a tangent, but that's okay because here's the thing. I almost think that Wisconsin's better to know where we sit. Look, Georgia's at the head of the table right now. There's some Alabama fans who are mad. I'm not Bama enough. Say it's still our dynasty, whatever. Let's be fair. Georgia has won 2 national championships since we've won our last one. Okay. Yep. So that is very fair to say Georgia's at the head of the table right
now. And we're like the only team that beats them.
Yeah.
Who beats Georgia? Alabama. No one else.
No one else does.
Has anyone beaten them but Alabama? Has literally anyone beaten them but Alabama since 2020?
No.
I don't think so. It's just Alabama.
Just us.
Well, either Alabama continues to do so or there's an understandable step back from Saban to DeBoer, and that's enough for Georgia to win one. I saw today, though, was it someone – I was looking at a very credible – oh, it was Pat Forty. Pat Forty has Alabama basically losing to Georgia twice in Tuscaloosa and then again in the playoff. And my initial reaction to that was, I don't think so, Pat. I mean, I don't think they'll beat Alabama more than once. They may beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and then you don't see them again. I don't see Alabama losing to Georgia twice. Maybe that's the homer in me, but kind of gets back to this post I made today. I bet you agree with this 1,000,000%, because I'm guilty of 2 things. I say things like, I hope Alabama's 12th in this poll. I want our kids playing disrespected. I want them to play with a chip on their shoulder. I want to be underranked. I want to sneak up on people again. I hope they disrespect us and put us at 12. But then a poll comes out and we are 12th, and I'm like, who the heck does this guy think he is? Yeah, what is that? This guy shouldn't be working in sports.
Yeah.
What do you mean 12?
No, I totally
that's how I do. That's how I do.
I totally agree, and it's totally irrational and stupid. Yeah. But I think it's more irrational right now to put Alabama at number 12 than it is to whatever we were doing.
Have you seen any credible person pick Alabama? Well, we'll talk about this. It's a
great
third segment. This is a great question.
Danny Cannell actually had his playoffs. Of course, he had Florida State getting a bye and winning the ACC, and he didn't have Alabama in it. And okay. I mean, and Danny, I don't know who follows me on Twitter, but I really targeted Danny Cannell pretty well after FSU, and he was like, "Okay, all you people, I'm keeping receipts," and I'm like, "Keep them all you want to. That's fine." I said, I feel like, the reason people are coming after you is because you were so out of bounds with your takes on all this FSU stuff and the SEC bias and Kirk Herbstreit. You were actually calling for people to boo Kirk Herbstreit on Twitter while it was happening. You were calling for him to do it more.
Then he's upset when people boo him.
Yeah. And then he gets upset that people want to, I'm going to keep receipts. Okay, keep them. Do whatever you do. Turn them into your accountant. I don't care. And if you come after me, fine. Here's what's funny. If you come after me, that only gives us exposure here at Locked On Bama. So kudos. I mean, whatever. Okay, Jimmy, we're going to tell everybody why Bama is going to be better than people like Danny Cannell think, because you know what? They are going to be better. But I want to tell you about 5-hour energy, and I got a 5-hour energy story that'll make you slap your mama, and I can't wait to tell it.
Oh God!
I don't know that I should right after a live read, but I'm gonna. Okay, look, I love 5-hour energy. I use it all the time because if you know me, you know I go to bed early. Okay, so my wife,
he does.
On the other hand,
this is true.
My wife, on the other hand, does not. So when it's time to go to a party, if I don't take a 5-hour energy, I'm not going to make it. And like, I love these things. They're just quick. They give you a quick pick me up. It fixes tired fast. I'm telling you, whether you have a long list to do for work, or you got DIY projects, or you're at a party you don't want to be at. Yeah. And I know sometimes I even end my sentences in a preposition. That's even worse. I need a 5-hour energy right now. I just drove 9 hours to Raleigh. Help me, somebody. Look, if you want to do it before you work out, that's another good time to do it. Grab a 5-hour energy shot to stay alert, to watch all your favorite games. I'm going to be doing that this year. You can bet your bottom dollar. I might sneak a little 5-hour energy in with my adult beverage of choice. I'm telling you, I just do these things because I have to stay up. 5-hour energy shots give you the feeling of alertness and energy, and they don't make me feel jittery ever. They don't. It like makes me feel awake, which is what I wanted to do. So look, go get you a 5-hour energy. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5 and then ourenergy.com. And hour, of course, has an H in it. It doesn't have 2 R's either. Like
2 R's.
And get some 5-hour energy product today. You can use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. That's a lot. That's a lot, man. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. This code is not good for subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and you will thank me at some point. All right. May get in trouble, but I'm going to tell this really quickly, even though we're going to tell you about why Bama is going to be better. When I took my son to see Bama play Tennessee in Knoxville, I believe it was 2010. Yeah, I think it was 2010. And I went with some other friends, and my son at the time was younger. I'm not going to give specific ages because that would probably get me in trouble. But, you know, it was a night game, and he was like, I was like, I'm losing him. You know, this game's going to kick off late and I'm losing him. And so I just gave him a little, quick, just a quick shot, quick one, not a whole thing. Don't get on to me. And, man, he was ready to rock the whole game. And we stayed with the best time. It was awesome.
He hadn't slept since 2010.
He hadn't slept since. He reads all the time, nonstop. Like he's good. He's good. He's fine. He's a great American. Okay. But it was true. It was like at one morning he was sort of sleeping in my arms, and then like 20 minutes later he was sliding down this steep hill near our tailgate on like these cardboard boxes.
Then he caught a 70-yard pass to win the game.
Yeah. He guarded Julio Jones in the end zone. Anyway, okay.
He carried Terrence Cody off the field.
So why he actually went in and brought the goalpost back from the Tennessee River. No, okay. So why Alabama will be better?
Okay.
And here's my. Let me give you my.
No, you go right ahead.
Okay, and somebody asked about this because we've been talking about everything else, and they were like, "Well, you feel like you never talk about the running backs." I feel like we always talked about the running backs, so I cut back my running back talk. But I'm going to tell you, the reason I think
groovy stuff around here sometimes, really.
The reason I think we're going to be better is mainly because of the running backs. Now, the caveat being what Jimmy brought up earlier is blitz pickup and blocking in general. That's got to happen. And I understand that I'm doing what I'd say a lot of fans shouldn't do, is just putting, counting hope as if it's experience. It's not. But I believe that if those guys get their blocking right, our running back room is totally underrated. I hear everybody talking about everybody else's running back room. I've heard LSU talk about theirs, Auburn talk about theirs. I feel like Alabama's is a lot better in terms of potential if they get that blocking down. If they get that, I think we're going to be superstar. I'm going to tell you something. Another thing that made me feel even better about our running back room is I feel like I watched Roydell play for FSU, and I thought he did okay. But I also felt like he should have done. I thought, like, if Justice Haynes was back there, maybe he misses that block you talked about earlier. I bet you he gets 100 yards, though.
He might have. I'm expecting a highly productive year from Justice and Jam, and I think that's an excellent answer. I'll just point this out, a little more subjective, but if you're like an alien or you don't, or just, let's put it this way, if you're a casual or you're more of a normal college football fan than obsessed idiots like me and Luke.
Or a casual alien.
Or a casual alien, or an alien that's obsessed with college football, which would be great. You would, let's just say that you've read nothing about this upcoming season. So last season ended and you've read nothing. You've seen no polls. You've seen no predictions. You've heard none of this talking season, as Marty and McGee call it on SEC Network. You've heard none of it. You haven't read magazines. You haven't looked at predictions. All you know is this: recruiting rankings. You know recruiting rankings. And you look at recruiting rankings in 24, 23, 22, 21, and even 20. Those are the 5 recruiting classes that basically make up all the teams this fall. So you're looking at recruiting rankings over the last 3 to 5 years. And you're also going to be told, okay, this is who these guys have signed out of the portal this year and maybe last year. These are the portal signees. If you looked at nothing but then, you know who you might rank number 1? Alabama. You might rank Alabama number 1 if you look at who they've signed and who they've signed out of the portal. But who ranks Alabama number 1? No one. Absolutely no one. What credible writer out there has predicted Alabama to win the national championship? I haven't seen it. I've seen Alabama picked to win the SEC, but that has been so rare that I just surprised y'all when I said it, because it's been so rare. The fact of the matter is, somehow, some way, Alabama's underranked, underrated, and Alabama should be a national championship serious contender. The reason they're not, because the head coach was replaced by another guy. But by the way, that other guy, he's lost 12 games ever.
And he played for the national championship last year.
Played for the national championship last year. If DeBoer just picks up where Saban left off, no one should be surprised. But yet you look at all these preseason rankings and all the talk, and you're like, people really are going to be surprised. Why? They've got the roster, and they've got what amounts to a proven head football coach.
And then it comes full circle to what we talked about at the beginning. We should love this, but we are PO'd about it for some reason.
It's exactly right. It's exactly right. I want us to be ranked low, but then we get ranked low, and I'm like, and you know, Cannell, that doesn't even count. But you know, he didn't even have us in the playoffs.
Desmond Howard doesn't count. He didn't have us in his playoffs.
Desmond, by the way, I like Desmond Howard more than most of you listening like Desmond Howard, but that dude's preseason predictions
are usually terrible.
Oh, you have to go back, and I wonder how many times he's predicted someone wins a national championship and they don't even get out of week 1. I mean, Desmond's predictions have not been good. He doesn't have a track record there, so that doesn't bother me as much. I care more about Herb Street, certainly Nick Saban, who people are going to say he's got an Alabama bias. I don't know. But Herb Street, even McAfee, you know, is a sports guy, and I wish Reese would take a bigger role on there in terms of opinions. I get why he doesn't, because it's not his role. But Reese Davis knows him some college football. If you don't believe me, listen to his podcast with Pete Thamel. He knows his stuff.
Well, and you know what Desmond Howard is? He's the guy who stands on 14 at the blackjack table with an ace 3 looking at a 10 because he's like, I just don't think I should hit it. I think she's going to bust. Well, every now and again, she will bust when you do that. But
go by the book. Go by the book. He doesn't go by the book. He does gamble a little bit on the picks, I guess, trying to be smart. Or, hey, the thing about this is we won't really have the time to go over this, but I think picking Cinderella-type teams now is insane. Yeah. Because those teams have to win. Hey, sure, anybody can take their swing and knock off Alabama. But then what if you have to beat Georgia and Ohio State too? I mean, what non-elite program is going to beat Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State in 3 weeks? Got to be the Baltimore Ravens to do that. So,
well, not only that, I mean, it's like when a Cinderella has made a move. I mean, it's like Glass Joe getting to the end of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I mean, TCU got there and Mike Tyson just knocked Glass Joe in the next week. Cincinnati got there and Alabama just toyed with it. That game is – I love rewatching Alabama games. I don't even like rewatching that game because it was like, we knew we could beat them at any moment we needed to. We just sort of messed around and beat the heck out of them.
Yeah, you know, Michigan was a really worthy national champion last year because they really were undefeated, great team, full of great players, set an all-time NFL combine record, sending 18 players to the combine. That's a loaded, great Michigan team with a first-round quarterback. And you know what? If they'd had to play Georgia the week after they beat Washington, I don't think they would have won. And I'm not saying because they weren't better than Georgia. I'm just saying they weren't going to beat Alabama and then Washington and then Georgia. I mean, It's just too hard. And I say this all the time, and I'm wondering, who am I picking to win the national? It's like, in my mind, no one is good enough to win it anymore, but someone will.
We're going to have our predictions later in the week for the playoffs, for Bama, for everything. And can't wait for it. We're going to do it later. But until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.